Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar titled Lean, a Journey, Not a Destination. A few housekeeping items to mention before we get started with today's webinar. All attendees are on mute. If you have a question for the presenter, please send it through the question section on your GoToWebinar dashboard, or you can use the Raise Your Hand feature to ask your question verbally. You can access the question chat box by clicking on the plus sign, which is next to the question header on the dashboard. To access the Raise Your Hand feature, please click on the hand icon that is also located on the left side of the GoToWebinar dashboard. We will then unmute your line and you'll be able to ask your question. All questions regarding the presentation content will be held until the end of the presentation, when we'll open for Q&A. Firstly, I would like to introduce our presenter, François Navaud. François has a Master's of Science in Engineering and Computer Integrated Manufacturing, which is from François Rabelais University in France. He has worked for JELD-WEN Windows Doors for the past 2 years, with 25 years of experience in lean manufacturing and lean management. He has also worked as site manager for 3M and Novacell. François is currently working on the implementation of GEM, which is the JELD-WEN Excellence Model. So without further delay, let's begin. François.
Good afternoon, everyone. So to start with, I will go through the presentation, and you can ask a question at the end, and you will have a PDF file of what is presented. So there is, I think that the most important part will be maybe not on the presentation. I don't know. I will try to. So to start with, what is lean? Then we will go to interdependence between, the strategy you need to have to put lean in place, the tools, some of the tools you may want to use, and also the culture, because lean is not only a toolbox, it's also a big way of thinking. And then just some few tips to how to get started. So I see lean was known through Toyota, mainly through Toyota. I would like to say that element of lean came from many input from the past. Some in like interchangeable part in the US. Then after that, you had Ford on it. It's a kind of big puzzle that has been assembled by Toyota. And for me, it's a kind of key point because Toyota, after the Second World War, if you are located in Japan, you lost the war. You want to restart your industry, but you get only what you have almost on site. You have few people, you have few resources. And so that's the reason why Toyota came back with, hey, we need to do what has value for the customer. We need to avoid waste, and we need to use everything that will make us more efficient. And it's a kind of starting point of the lean. Lean came slowly, one piece at a time. And you will hear that lean is a journey, but we are all different, and we will not start the journey from the same point. And yes, going into the wood, we may encounter the same issue, but maybe not at the same moment. So it's a kind of you can have many visions about lean. So if I move on on one of the key points already expressed is the value. What the value is defined by what the customer is willing to pay. If you are in Japan after the Second World War, you will do something, but you need to be paid. You cannot mainly borrow money and buy some new machine, and so you do with what you have, and you need to be paid. So you will do mainly what the customer is willing to pay for. So then one of the key points, and many people say, yeah, lean is about defining what's the value stream. What does it mean? The Japanese realized that yes, we were measuring efficiency of machine individually, but at the end of the day, if they want to be paid and avoid to spend money on something that was not useful, they have to establish a kind of pipe, a kind of flow, what we call the stream, the value stream. And the value stream is really the process followed by the part itself. But when the part will advance, if the part is going in inventory, you are not paid while the part is in inventory. You know, you will be paid because you are putting added value on that part. You are not like some action like control checking. It's non-value added in a lean sense. So you know the value, and you have to really deeply understand what is the value. Then you get your value stream, you know, which is trying to identify what does make sense. So or what doesn't make sense is waste. So it's anything that the customer is not willing to pay for. Then when you will establish your flow, because you are efficient if the flow is going, it's not stopping. Inventory will stop it. Excess inventory will stop it. Non-quality will stop it. Transportation will stop it. It means that you are not working on the part while you are making transportation. So the waste, the flow are key things in lean. And then the last element is that you will see what we call a pull system in lean. At contrario, it's not a push system. A push system you will do just in case. In a pull system, you will do kind of just in time. You will do what you need when you need it, not before, not after. It's a process of continuous improvement. So in any kind of lean, you will see some of these elements. First, identify the value, then be aware of your value stream. So the tool is called the value stream mapping. Then create your flow, then establish some pull system, then seek for perfection. And it's an element, because seek for perfection is a continuous improvement. And if you are in Japan, after the war, you do continuous improvement because you are trying to do a little bit better every day. You are not looking for a big jump and something, a miracle or something on your Christmas list that will solve everything. You are trying to do a little by little, but a better job every day. So some example of basic lean tool. At the beginning, you are doing lean, so you are doing some small element. Big element, you will find that anyway. When there is a lean organization, you see daily visual management system. Daily visual management system is not board that will inform people. It's a board that are there in order to share what are the opportunity. Because after the war, if you are in Japan, okay, if as a manager you decide to do something, you want to be sure that everybody know what is important for the company. And you want to know everything that is preventing you to do it. So the visual management is going both ways. It's coming from the floor up to the top, but from the top down, because you need to align everybody on what is your key priority. So it's a very typical approach. In daily visual management system, we are talking about SQDCI, S for safety, Q for quality, D for delivery, C for cost, and finally inventory. But it has a sense, because if you are in Japan, safety is coming first. you don't have a lot of people after the war. You need to take care of your people. Then you need to take care of your quality, because the customer is not willing to pay for something that doesn't match what he wants. So it's quality. So it's a change because people are mainly driven by cost, but the Japanese are kind of focusing on what will reduce the cost, and it's coming mainly from improvement in safety, in quality, in delivery. Then, yes, you get an impact on your cost. So one of the second tools is the standard work, but the standard work is really the basis. If you want to improve, you have to start from somewhere, and the somewhere should be the same every time. It means that if you do a job, write it down, use it as a standard, and compare yourself to your standard. You know, compare yourself to your standard. Otherwise, there is no way you can improve. So you will see that your standard doesn't allow you to reach your target. So you need to solve the issue, not manage the issue, really solve the issue. And it's a meaning of basic problem solving, you know, root cause analysis. It's really trying to solve the issue in such a way that this issue will not come back again. That's a deep sense of the basic problem solving. Then you have some good tools to start with is a 5S. People see 5S, and we have some charts about 5S, like, you know, oh, okay, you kind of cleaning your area, you are making it nice, and so on and so forth. But I think it's a short way, it's a short view on 5S, because 5S, and I like it in such a way that you can use it as a pilot project, because the first step of a 5S, yes, you sort. You try to find everything that you need at your workplace. So you will move out everything that is not useful. Okay, fine. Then you start to reduce the waste by setting things in order. Okay, good. Then you make it shine, and you stop. And if you stop there, you're not really in 5S, because behind the 5S, it's a great opportunity to set up a standard, and that's the number 4. And when you set up a standard, then you can demonstrate to your people by managing them, by leading them, I would say, that you can establish a standard. You can go back on your standard and make it better every day. And it's a closed loop of continuous improvement. So 5S is not making things nice. It's making things, you know, on a sustainable way, nice, in order, and efficient. You are looking for efficiency in 5S. You are not looking only to making things very nice. So I think it's one of the pitfalls in many 5S. So one of the tools, basic tools, is the value stream mapping. Because if you see the value, and you need to see the value, you need to know what your customer is willing to pay for, then you can establish your value stream mapping. So it's not only the physical flow, it's also the information flow. Is how does it work? How do I schedule my production? How do I plan my raw material? How am I organized? That's the biggest tool to see, to have a, I would say, to have a global view on how your plant is working. And you'll be surprised that people working in the same plant for 20 years really are learning so much with the value stream mapping. Because value stream mapping, a good book is called Learning to See, and it's really about learning to see when you do a value stream mapping. Learning to see your waste, learning to see your process. Then the final one is work on your flow. So establish your flow and go for pull system as much as you can, or, you know, a big tools in when appropriate is a Kanban system as a pull system. So I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the Kanban, so I'm not going to go in detail about that, but it's a basic foundation. But you see that the house of Lean is you get the basement, and some of the tools are really to do your construction, And some other tools are more advanced. And I'm not talking today about them, but a big thing, when you are doing lean, you will transform the way people are managed. You need to go from management to leadership. You need to go from telling the people what to do and how to do it. You need to lead them, to see what they need to do and express what are their concerns, where they need help. So it's a big change in the industry. This one is a PDCA, so it's known as a Deming circle or wheel of Deming, but it's a scientific approach. It's a structural approach. So really, it's a scientific problem-solving method, and basic are, you will go always through those steps. So, and 70% of your time is in the plan, because the plan is really to define and measure and try to identify what are the reasons why you are not reaching your goal. Then you will do in the do and the check and the act. But the plan is really the most important part. You have to define and measure, and you have to target the right problem, because if your problem statement is leading you already to a solution, it means that you're wrong. You're already wrong. So it's not. It's a key part. It's really important. Define and measure, then analyze. And analyze, and I will go a little bit deeper after, is really find the root causes, the reason why, not the consequence, the reason why you are doing such a thing. So develop, validate, and countermeasure. It's key, and you should not skip that, because it's really your continuous improvement loop, which is there. And standardize, as always. If you know what is good, you have to standardize it, and you should be able to go back to that and get improvement from your standardization. See if you need to change your standard or not. So just, for basic problem solving, you need to aim to suppress the cause. If you don't want to deal with the effect, you have to suppress the cause. I mean, for me, it's very obvious, because I've been in lean for many years, but it's not that obvious for many people. They will deal mainly with the consequence, avoid the consequence, but not dig enough to the root causes. So one of the basic tools, if I start with the right, the fishbone, it's called also the Ishikawa. So the Ishikawa diagram is just to let you know that when you have an issue, it's not only a question of person. It can be a question of methodology, a question of maintenance, of machine, or measure. It's kind of it's a way to help you to think broader, that, oh, I get an issue with this guy. He's not doing the job correctly. That's maybe not the guy. That's maybe the method. That may be the tools. That's maybe something very different. It's like an accident, It's not coming because you are, especially in Canada. I mean, okay, if you say, I get an accident because it was icy, wow, that's a bunch of accidents in Canada, if it's the only reason. So you need to look a little bit deeper than there is ice on the road. It's maybe you are going too fast. It's maybe you brake too hard. There is some other reason. So it's a good way. The other one is a very powerful tool. It's a 5 whys, and the 5 whys, you can use the 5 whys after the Ishikawa if it's a very complex thing. If in your Ishikawa you feel that there is some potential hypothesis, yes, run your 5 why on that. You can read it, and you need to go down with the 5 why. So the machine stop, why? Because the overload, circuit trip, and so on. So you will go down to the root cause. But the way to check it is to go up, to ask the question, therefore. And it looks very simple, but you need to be trained on 5 whys. The more you are doing 5 whys, the better you are at doing it. It's not that basic, I would say. So standard work. I'm going back to that. Yes, standard work is You need to document, but why? Why do you need to document? Because you want to be sure that everybody, if you define standard work, for me is not, you have to proceed like that. You have to be a little bit better than that. You have to put your best practices in your standard work. Standard work, it's for me, the best when you do it. So you need to update, because if you are in a continuous improvement, yes, you need to go and audit your standard work and make it better. And to make it better, you do it by writing it and say, okay, I will train everybody on that. We act on that. And guys, what do you think? Is the job more easy, more effective, or not? Then you write, you take all suggestions and you go one step at a time. It's better than trying to jump to the perfection. And it's something in Lean. You can be wrong. If you're wrong, if something doesn't work, I mean, you have to learn from it, and that's fine, and it's part of the process. What will be wrong will be to not go back and learn from that. That will be wrong. So I'm moving to leader standard work, and for me, leader standard work is something which is important. There is a Lean, and there is the management of the Lean, or the Lean management, and the leader standard work is for me a good tool. It's a tool for the leader. It's their standard work. So it means that if you want to organize things, you have to document and allow the time for activity. If your standard work for a site manager is, for example, to attend a meeting in the morning, and he wants to have everybody present at the meeting, that in his standard work, he will impact the standard work of everybody. So if I need to have a meeting at 8 and I need to collect information before, it is in my standard. It's a protective, it's a protect area. It's a reserve of time. I know that if I need to be ready at 8, I need 15 minutes before to collect all the information I need. That's my standard work. So it means that I'm not available for anything else. Is to put first what matters the most. So you should not be balanced in your agenda by the flow, by urgency. You need to set in order what matters. That's the leader standard work. 5S. So I was in advance when I was talking about it. It's a big methodology, and 5S. Some people will rate them 100% of 5S. It's not something that will happen with a Japanese company. No way. 5S is a never-ending story for them. And I'm going back because I think it's really important. It really makes sense. If you are looking at your garage and you are booked, you will start by sorting. What do I need? Do I use that tool or not? So everything I will use needs to be very close. And everything I don't use, I can put it far away. It doesn't need to be in my space. To set in order is to look for waste reduction, to what will make me efficient. So what I use the most is the closest. And that's basic logic. Shine is you need to make it not pretty, but you need to make obvious that if something is missing, everybody should know. Everybody should see by himself without talk that something is missing. That's the idea behind Shine. The standardize is how should I maintain my workspace? How is it organized? So that's why you are going to a standard. But I think it's a key part because most of the people stop at the Shine. The standard, it's a good opportunity for management to change from managing to lead, because if they can establish the standard with their people, they need to make it clear that, okay, guys, that's just one step. I will come back and we will see how we do. And depending on how we do, we will change the standard. And you are starting what is called continuous improvement. So management is there to help, It's a different game. I see my boss as someone that will help me to solve some issue, rather than I see my boss as someone that will tell me what to do and how to do stuff. So it's behind the 5S for me, and it's my my personal belief. It's more than the shiny part and the stuff. And it's very difficult to sustain if the way you lead your 5S is wrong. Because for a short period of time, you can put energy. Everybody will follow. Everybody will have some tasks to do. So everybody will be on board. But to sustain it, it means that you make it meaningful somewhere. And for example, it should be in the site manager leader standard work to audit some 5S from time to time, because you need to show the importance of that. And I recommend it. When you start small, it's a good way to do a pilot project in one area, to do it right. It's a good way to start the continuous improvement process, because 5S is a very good tool for that. So moving ahead, some example of 5S, and but people stick on the image. Yes, it looks nicer. Okay, everybody sees that. I'm more interested on what is behind, and the behind is really the leadership style that you will have, the fact that you are able to have some standards that people will be comfortable with the standard. Standard will be perceived as not oh, they are setting some rules. Yes, we are setting some rules, but we are setting the best practices. And you want everybody to have the perception that, okay, to follow the standard is to follow the best practices. You don't want the talk that, oh, the team is doing it in a different way. Oh, we have a better way to do it. Okay. You want to move from it's my shift to it's our territory. It's our job, between day shift, night shift, and everything. It's a key element. And the management need to lead in that by saying, hey guys, that's our territory, that's our way of working, and let's make it better, and let's agree on what we do and how we do it. The sustain, I'm going back, it's really establishing your process, auditing your process, and going back and being sure that people will perceive that, yeah, okay, everybody can audit. It's a good way to share what we see, and let's talk about it, because when you are auditing, you need to look for improvement. Okay, guys, it was not done. Why? Does it make sense to do it again? Can we establish another process, or how can I make it more easy? And it's moving from telling the people what to do to asking questions in order to lead them. So 5S is a good tool. I like it. It's so easy and makes things very, very obvious. So, and it's a safe way to start. You cannot be wrong. You can fail, not sustain. So you have to learn from that. Waste and increase value. So it's what we say. Most of the times, in what we do in any kind of process, probably there is only less than 20% of value. So you need to really look for what is adding value to your product, to your process. Work on everything which is waste, because if you are doing something which is not addressing some waste issue, you are not looking for efficiency. You are wasting your time. You are wasting your money. So it's always going after waste. Talking about lean or doing lean is always going after waste. Waste opportunity. Most of the time we focus on manufacturing, but there is waste in any process, in transactional area. When you see some process, when you map them, when you go one step to another step and there is a check, question, why there is a check? When there is a check, it's probably because it's not done right the first time. So what do you tackle? Why you need to ask the question, why am I checking? If it's because it's not done the first time, so why is it not done the first time? And you need to aim in the right way. And the right way is the waste identification always. You get example in now in hospital about waste lean project. You get example in IT. They call it agile in French. I don't know how you say that. It's the same. It's a basic principle of what is the value. So what is the waste? A way. It's a new word. I'm used to downtime. With the Japanese, they identify some 9 waste, and one of the new jargon is Timwuzi. So transportation. And if you think about it, if you transport a piece, you are not bringing value to that piece. It's maybe needed, but it's needed due to your organization. Inventory, it means that you need to be rich to get inventory because you are putting your money at sleep. You know, and if you are in Japan after the war, you don't want to do that for sure. Inventory is not a good thing. Motion, it means that if to do the job, people have to move from one place to another place. You know, all the time they spend moving is a waste of time. It's a waste of money for you. Waiting, it means that if you wait, if you stop in your process, you are not helping your flow. It's not flowing, it's stopping. And I can go, you know, overproduction, you understand the reason why. Overprocessing, doing more just in case, you know, you don't want to do that. Defect, it's the obvious one. When people are thinking about waste, they are thinking about defect. But there is a deep sense in Japanese, I mean, in lean, I would say, you know, defect is something that, what's your criteria on quality? You need to do what the customer wants, but do you know it? And is everybody on the line able to see what is a defect in regard of the customer? So you may challenge your specification because most of the people are doing specification, but are you sure that it's really linked to your customer? When you are, you need to question your defect in such a way that you should say, okay, if everybody know what is a defect for the customer, do I have the right tool? Do I have the right process? Am I able to do it? So defect is a big thing. So that's why quality is coming second after safety. Skill, if you are in Japan, you get some skilled people and not skilled people, and you need to put everybody at the right place. You need to use people's brain. So skill is an important one too. And now it's coming with energy and power and things like that. It's all waste. Desired behavior. I already told you that it's you have to move from the guy telling what to do, how to do, to, you know, a leading, and it means that you need to demonstrate ownership. People doesn't demonstrate ownership and say, oh, it's not my fault, it's coming from something else, you know. You want to say, okay, I get an issue, I'm going to solve it. Let's run a PDCA. Let's meet the other department and see what we can do to solve that. So you are looking for accountability. I'm not going to be. I think that you understand what I mean. The culture is defined by the fact that people will act in the same way, in front of some issue. So in order to establish a culture, it's not coming overnight. It's, you know, it's slowly by slowly. You need to associate the people to solve their own issue. And I think that what is working best, if someone is coming with an issue and say, hey, boss, I need some help, I get an issue, you need to probably coach the guy to solve his own issue. You need to organize, you need to mentor him, because you don't want everybody going on the shoulder of your manager, of your leader. You want to have as many problem solvers that you can. So the best way is to coach and to get the people active in the lean, you know, in the lean journey. So I think I'm almost at the end. Yeah, just to go back. when you do something, you don't want the people, you can use a hammer, but okay, you can use a hammer for different reasons. So what you want with lean tools, you need to develop, you need to train, you need to implement. People are learning by doing more than anything. So yes, you need to be sure that you train people on problem solving. You need to establish standard work. That's a basic requirement. It's a must-do for me. 5S is a good way to show how to lead, how to continuously improve your standard. In Lean is about having the value stream as effective as possible. So you need to create a flow and go for pull system versus push system. And also, you need to aim to reduce waste and to improve the value added. Always. That's a very big constant in Lean. And the good point about continuous improvement is you can do something and improve it every day, rather than to look for some perfection later. So that's now getting started. Just to finish with that, based on my experience, I think that for JELD-WEN is a big company, so maybe we approach things with more in a different way. But I've been working in the industry in some other big company and small company, and to start with a small and medium company, I think a 5S is a good way. It's a traditional way. It's a good way. It's not the only way. I agree 100%. But I think that if you understand what is at stake in the 5S, it's a good way to start. For larger company, you need to get help because you need to get skilled people because you need to assess where you start your journey, what will be the driver. And I'm going back to the beginning saying, if you want to implement some Lean, you need to have a strategy, you need to get some tools, and you need to prepare and get the culture, and everything is interrelated. So that's why we are saying that Lean is a journey. But the journey doesn't start from the same point, but we'll encounter probably some of the same issue, but not at the same time. So the tools will be useful. You have to understand why you are using them always. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer to some questions if I can.
Okay, thank you very much, Francois. I just want to remind everyone first that if you do have a question, you can send it through the question section, or you can use the raise your hand feature and ask the question verbally. You can access the question chat box by clicking on the plus sign, which is next to the question header on your dashboard. For the raise your hand feature, click on the hand icon, which is also on the left-hand side of the GoToWebinar dashboard. So let's have a look and see now. Here we go. So I do have a question here for you, Francois. Who should lead the first project of Lean? And what happens if the general manager doesn't believe in Lean?
You're screwed. Okay. I've been in that position. Okay. I've been in that position. I was able to lead Lean because I was a main dog. I was a site manager. The general manager was not really believing, but he was seeing the result. But you don't get help. You need to have some support but the key part, I think it's a good question because how to say that? There is what you do, there is how you do it, and there is why you do it. The why you do Lean, it needs to be understood by the general manager. You need to understand that because otherwise, it's a question of coherences. When you act, your acts are driven by what you believe, what you do, and when you lead, understand Lean, everything is flowing. If you are convinced that you can do Lean, and your general manager is not convinced, what I did, and I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I'm just saying that it did work for me. I did a small project. I did a 5S in one area, but showing that what I was expecting from my manager, and it was a good way to bring in my general manager, say, hey, here is my production manager, and here is what he's doing in the 5S, and it's what we want to do. And he was able to perceive, and I was pulling him out of his office one time every week in order to allow him to see the progress, in order to get his interest. And finally, we had in that area better result quickly on safety and quality than on productivity. Because, when it's at the end, the general manager was probably more interested in the cost part, but in order to get the cost, I had to convince him that, you're not playing tennis looking at the board. You are playing tennis focusing on your process, So it was a good way to do it. But you have to convince. And the best way is to kind of sometimes show them that good exists, what is good, and it can bring some value. You need to see the benefits, potential benefits at least.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So I don't have any other questions at this point, actually, Francois, so it looks like that's all for today. Now, I would like to let everyone know that a recording of the webinar will be available to members on the resources section of the Fenestration Canada website. I'd also like to take this opportunity to mention that registration is open for WinDoor 2017. And this is Canada's premier industry event showcasing the best of the window and door industry. It's a fantastic opportunity for those in the industry to network, grow their business, and learn. And we have education sessions like today's webinar. It will take place at the International Centre near Pearson Airport, and that will be from November 28th to November 30th. Please go to windoorshow.ca for more details and to register. Now, actually, Francois, I do have one more question that's come up, if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
Now, Garoni Jones is asking, no mention of the 10th and the most important type of waste, cutting optimization.
I'm not sure I understand now. I didn't mention what?
The 10th. No mention of.
Yeah, but it's I was sticking to the 9 waste, traditional way. Yeah, there is, but if you understand what is waste, you will find that yes, there is some waste in many area. It's I'm just I'm not going to go deep in details on that.
Right.
I'm okay. I understand, but lean now is going to what we call it's called TLS now. If you want to go in details in consulting stuff, it's called a theory of constraint, lean, and Six Sigma. And so yes, there is deeper things in lean. We are just going on the surface, I would say, today. So yeah, I agree.
I believe there is some interest with the 10th point there and how it usually causes, I think, 8 to 9% of waste of materials. And that's another comment that I've received.
Okay.
And so that's everything today. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much, Francois. That was very interesting and very helpful. And I think everyone's going to love having a recording of this as well. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, and have a lovely afternoon.